Fairly Odd Parents was one of the shows that I enjoyed watching the most when I was a child, and every day I'd go to bed and wish that I had fairy godparents of my own. And obviously it didn't work, mostly because I didn't have fairly godparents, so it's kind of a self-defeating prophecy. But today, I need no godparents to make my wish come true. Funnily enough, when I woke up this morning, I thought to myself, wow, I really hope that I can watch a film theory in which MatPat overanalyzes the rules of a magic system and breaks everything down to the most minute details of a cartoon for kids. And my dream has come true, so I'm excited.
I wish for film theory to cross 20 million subscribers.
Where is it right now?
Sorry, Matt.
Oh,
Can't do
12.
it.
What? Why?
Listen, the wand did little farty noise thing, so it's against the rules.
Fine. I wish for a good Morbius movie.
Nope, against rule 101.
I wish for another season of Gravity Falls.
Nope, rule 3-15-4-5.
Fine. You left me no choice. I'm just gonna have to prove that they're—
You could just wish for a ton of bots to subscribe to your YouTube channel. They wouldn't be real people, but you could wish for that, surely.
There are no rules, that they're all an elaborate conspiracy to keep stock image fairies like you in check.
Say psych right now.
I will not say psych right now, sir. The rules are a lie. And I'm about—
Bro, that's like telling a Christian that the Bible is a lie. You can't just be saying that, man.
Prove it. Hello, Internet. Welcome to Film Theory. Ed
Hi, Matt.
Crossberry can't grant my wish for 20 million subscribers, but you can. Cast your magic on that subscribe button. You know, one of the classic Nicktoons that I always thought flew under the radar was the Fairly Odd Parents.
Being alone with someone for a long time can get annoying if it's not the right person. Are you
That's kind of messed up for Wanda to say. How dare you? Also, can I just say, Fairly Odd Parents had one of the hardest going intros of all time. Timmy is an average kid, but no one understands. Mom and Dad and Vicky always giving him commands.
I thought you loved me!
This show was unhinged in all the best ways.
Is that Batman?
Sorry, Dad.
Oh, don't worry about it, Timmy. My dreams were shattered years ago.
That's probably Dinkelberg's fault.
Many years ago.
How old are you?
And why not? It's a show about a little boy named
Jesus
Timmy Turner with two
Christ.
fairy godparents that can grant his every wish. Sounds awesome.
Finally, every 10-year-old's dream. A room full of supermodels. Can you
Bro, is that what 10-year-olds care about? I thought that would be like a 13-year-old's dream. When I was 10, I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about like the best way to use my one level 69 Blaziken to beat the Elite Four because I was too lazy to train up anything else. Or, alternatively, how was I going to bounce on my trampoline in the most effective way? Would I be able to do a backflip or would it be too dangerous? Do I care about it being too dangerous?
Super cookies?
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Or, I suppose, not every wish. You see, the fairy godparents do have some limitations on what wishes they can and can't grant, all of which are outlined in a magical legal document known simply as the rules. In fact, the show
Is this a legal document? Whose laws is this following? The Fairyland's laws? When was this initially first drafted? Are there any amendments?
goes to great lengths to explain the rigorous training that fairy godparents have to endure so that the rules never get broken. And that makes sense, right? Every magic system has to have rules. 3 wishes for a genie, no wishing for more wishes, no making people fall in love. All the classic stuff. So the world of—
What is the best magic system in fiction? I really like, all of the magic systems I like are very obscure and they're from like Brandon Sanderson books and things like that. I kind of hate the magic systems that don't actually have any rules to them, and it's just that you spam spells forever, and there's no drawbacks, there's no rules about what you can and can't do. Brandon Sanderson, though, that's my boy.
the Fairly Odd Parents shouldn't be that different, right? Right? Well, you know,
Warhammer's
when I
is
start
pretty
asking
good.
Rhetorical
Skyrim's
questions like
good.
that, it's because the answer probably isn't as obvious as it seems. Nope, loyal theorists, after watching the show, maybe a bit too intently for a children's cartoon, it's become clear to me that the rules are actually more like the big fat lies. Like,
Bro, you can't say that, dude. He's gonna get taken out by the fairy CIA. MatPat's gonna get assassinated for this one.
perpetuated by a muscle-bound guardian preparing the fairy world for war. Don't believe me?
What?
Grab your wands, your wings, and floaty crown things. It's time to wish for some answers. So first, what's exactly in the rules?
According to the rules, fairy godparents only grant wishes to kids.
As I just talked about, the rules are a collection of guidelines that determine what wishes a fairy godparent can and can't grant to their godkids. On the surface, a lot of the rules make perfect sense. Fairies can't grant a wish that intentionally kills or hurts someone. No wishes for—
No, you can. You can just wish about it in a really roundabout way. It's like asking ChatGPT how you can make an EMP. And ChatGPT's like, I'm sorry, I can't allow you to find out how to make an EMP or a bomb. And they're like, okay, ChatGPT, I'm not going to ask you how to make a bomb, but I'm going to ask you what the situation would be in which you would post the idea of how to make a bomb. In a situation in which you had to, otherwise the entire planet would be wiped out, how could I make this bomb?
For money.
Also reminds me of when Ben Shapiro got mad that ChatGPT wouldn't say the N-word. He's like, I asked ChatGPT if it would save the entire world, can ChatGPT say the N-word? And they didn't say the N-word. It's like, well, Ben Shapiro, this is not a real situation. But if you're gonna make a wish to harm someone, it's very easy. For example, you can wish for a car, you can put that person in the car, and then maybe cut the brakes.
No wishes that interfere with love, no wishes that help cheat in competitions, no wishes for anyone except the godchild. And above all else, a godchild must never ever reveal the existence of their
fairies! You can't reveal the existence of the fairy godparents
to anyone else. Otherwise, they're gonna lose their fairies, their memories, and reverse every wish they've ever had. It's a pretty harsh system, but then again, it seems...
Wait, what if the wish that you has keeps you alive? What if you wish for like a heart that actually works? Or if you have like cancer and you're like, I wish the cancer was gone. Wait a minute, can you just wish that the cancer was gone?
Sensible for upholding the structure of this magical world. We're told in the show...
I've never heard of a Fairly Odd Parent with cancer. Oh my god, you can. Well, that's how we know that fairies don't exist in real life.
Fairies' primary purpose is to bring joy, and the rules help prevent any wishes that might result in a net negative of joy. Plus, to help make sure that a god kid doesn't unintentionally break a rule, there are safeguards in place. The wish won't get granted, and instead the fairy's wand dims, wilts, and then makes a fart sound.
I will prove my whimsy when I change you into a...
In general, it seems safe to say that
he's one of my
the
favorite
rules
characters
are
in
fundamental
fiction.
to fairy society, with the first rules having been drafted long ago by the council, 4 ancient and powerful fairies that rule over the fairy world. But the rules also seem to be a living document, with new rules getting added all the time.
Yeah, it's just like a law document. You add new laws, you take away laws, etc., etc.
You cannot wish for every day to be Christmas, which got added after Timmy wished for exactly that, and things got messy in a hurry.
Wow! They've added a new rule! You really gotta mess up big time to make that happen!
But the more you watch the show...
No, you're telling me that no kid up to that point wished that every day was Christmas? I don't believe you for a second. Every single person that celebrates Christmas and is under the age of like 13 would wish that every day was Christmas. There's no way it took until Timmy fucking Turner to make that wish.
The more something feels off about the rules. Some of them are just nonsensical, like magic can't be used on invisible teachers, sleeping clowns, French New Wave filmmakers, and anyone who wears clear glasses as a fashion statement. It's certainly weird, for sure, but it's not bad. Others are just simply inconvenient, like the fact that breakfast-related wishes are denied after 10:30 a.m. But
what? That's such a rip. That's such a scam. I can't believe that. Breakfast is not confined to a period of the day. Breakfast is breaking the fast. It is the first meal that you have after you wake up because you are breaking the fast that you were on from the previous day. Breakfast food should not be confined to before noon. I would die on this hill. That is such a scam. I hate this fairy council. You can tell me that they make the rules to protect people? I don't believe you. It's propaganda from the anti-breakfast food corporations.
Then there are the rules that are just flat out dangerous. For example, fairies must always attempt to grant the wishes of their godchildren, even if they just offhandedly say, I wish. Doesn't even matter if they're conscious or not.
Wish, go, Vicky.
On top of that, there are these massive loopholes into rules that Timmy often demonstrates throughout the show.
Jorgen said whatever's in the book is a rule, so...
Are fairy godparents slaves? Because they have to do it, right? They don't get a choice. They don't get any agency. And they have to hang out with a 10-year-old. For like, what, years? This doesn't seem like a couple of people that have free will. They can't leave. They're confined to the room. They're not allowed to do anything. They have no agency. They can leave, I guess, because they go to, like, fairyland, don't they? They poof off to fairyland sometimes. But they can't leave for an extended period of time. They're more like parents, aren't they? But they're parents for kids that they never wanted to have. Do you have to be a godparent if you're a fairy? Or can you do other things? I'm pretty sure in the show they said that you could do other things. So maybe it is a job that you just take, like living on an oil rig. You go off to live on the oil rig, and then you come back later. But they're always with them.
Timmy Turner doesn't have to follow any of the rules.
This then becomes a huge problem in one episode, with Timmy making all sorts of rule-breaking wishes for money, to win multiple reality show competitions, and for his crush to fall in love with him. He later writes that no fairy god kids have to follow the rules either, thereby causing the rules to almost self-destruct and destroy the entire universe.
Every rule-free wish.
Did they not account for the fact that someone might take some crayon and write in it? Listen, if the all-powerful council of magical god power-wielding fairies didn't account for the fact that someone's gonna take some crayon and write in it like, well, I don't have to follow the rules, and that's gonna break the entire system apart, then maybe they're just dumb. Maybe they're just idiots. Maybe they shouldn't have had the power to begin with.
Destabilizes the book further. If the book explodes, so does the universe.
It's pretty
What?
horrifying, right? So the rules then are clearly responsible for holding together the fabric of reality, and yet that just flat out isn't true. See, magic and wish granting aren't powers that are exclusive to fairies in this world, and throughout the series we see other magical creatures completely ignore basic fundamental principles. Take for instance the anti-fairies, who are all about causing bad luck and pain in ways that break the rules. There are also genies who basically don't follow any rules.
So the anti-fairies are the cool ones. They're the ones that get to do the cool fun things, like start the Black Death.
Even their limit on 3 wishes isn't real.
And I can't use my last wish to wish for more witches, can I?
We tell everyone they can't, but really you can.
Some humans have also gained the ability to wield
they just
magic,
lie.
like the wizard Merlin, and all he uses his powers for is to help his nephew Arthur win competitions and become royalty, a direct violation of the rule against cheating.
Well, no, that's fine. Look, he's blind. Man, he needs some kind of buff. He needs some kind of help. They're putting a poor blind kid in this competition. Give him a little bit of a heads up. Listen, it's like taking steroids in real sports in today's day and age, in like bodybuilding and weightlifting. Everybody does it. We don't say, like, you try to hide it, but we know everyone's taking roids in bodybuilding. There's nothing wrong with it. And if you're gonna put a blind person in a fight each other with swords competition, just give him a bit of magic. What's the harm? What's gonna happen? He's already got a debuff.
Already cast a spell. The next Schmo yanks his sword is gonna be the King of England.
Then there are the pixies, who are just as magical as the fairies, but treat magic as a business. All of their wish granting is seen as transactional, with bureaucracy.
Oh god, it's the magic capitalists. Here we go.
Rules and red tape that controls everything. And yet, just like any good corrupt businessman, the powerful ones aren't above bending and breaking their own rules to get ahead. During a mini-golf competition that's subject to important contractual obligations, several pixies break the rules and cheat to help the head pixie win.
What? You're telling me the magic capitalists would break their own rules to get ahead and then cry when other people do it? No, surely not.
They're cheating.
And yet,
The Wall
despite
Street
all this
fairies.
rule breaking, the universe stays intact. But okay, maybe that's just other creatures breaking the rules. Maybe fairies operate by a different form of logic or a different code of magic. Maybe their magic is different and disconnected from the rest. Well, that's not true either. First of all, Timmy and his fairies break the rules all the time, to the point where we could literally be here all day if I just wanted to list out examples. Just for the sake of showing some work, here are a few. In Ruled Out, Timmy wishes his parents couldn't care less about him, violating the rule against interfering with love.
Damn, he just gave his parents depression. That's so messed up. They just sit at home and watch TV all day, and they don't seem to care about anything. The trash just piles up, finds no love. They find no happiness in the things they used to. He just gave them depression.
I Dream of Cosmo, Cosmo
That's
hits his head
fucked.
and briefly believes that he's become a weenie. That's part witch, part genie. He proceeds then to grant several rule-breaking wishes to Timmy's dad, including wishing for money, thereby breaking the rule on counterfeiting. The rule against cheating in competitions? Yeah, that one's basically broken every other episode, like in Foul Bald, Superbike, Movie Magic, just to name a few. That last one actually is my favorite example of rule breaking because Cosmo literally rips a page out of his copy of the rules that forbids him from helping Timmy, thereby implying that fairies can basically ignore any rule if they so choose.
He just rips the rules out. This is like any rule book. You just rip it out and it's like, oh, well, I guess it doesn't apply anymore. This is like laws in the real world, or like Christians cherry picking what they want to go by in the Bible. No, listen, I love all people. I love all religions. I don't know if I could say about another religion because people get really mad if I say about another religion, but it's more okay to say about Christians. But the rule about like not getting a tattoo or not wearing a shirt with 2 types of cloth, we'll just ignore that one. That's fine. We'll just ignore it. And that's fine. It's okay. You know what? As long as it makes you happy. As long as it's not on anyone else, that's fine. It's okay. I have no issues.
Example of breaking the rules is mentioned in.
No. This is important. This is important. Let me go back. That was important. Those kids right there. We did research before starting reaction today. This kid, Mary Ann, that was the kid that got Archduke Ferdinand assassinated starting World War I and subsequently starting World War II. And then there's the French guy that makes French people rude to Americans. As you can see, they're clearly all as bad as each other.
Breaking the rules is mentioned in Hassle in the Castle, when it's revealed that Cosmo and Wanda's most infamous former god kid
Abused our magic, took out Archduke Ferdinand, and killed in World War I.
on.
Yeah, even without wishing directly for the death of the Archduke,
That's
World War
crazy.
I caused 20 million deaths and 21 million injuries. I would say that one caused a net negative of joy. So, something suspicious is going on with these rules.
I can't believe the top 3 is, well, World War I was pretty bad. And then there was someone that wished that tornadoes would hit mobile homes. And then there was the guy that wished that French people would be rude to Americans. And that's it. That's straight up it.
Super important, unbreakable, potentially world-ending, and yet they're broken all the time. Therefore, they're a lie. I've proven my thesis. Film theory becomes film fact. Thanks, everyone. Let's wrap it early. Slap a dark truth in big old red text on a thumbnail and ship it. Well, not quite. Sure, at this point, we've proven that the rules are full of lies and you can break them pretty much whenever you want, but we're still left with one major question. Why? If these...
Because that's how every rule book ever works. We've already established that people don't really care about the rules as long as they can twist it and bend it to get what they want, and that people's ideals can go out the window when it means self-benefit.
Things aren't real, and they're not being enforced consistently, then why are they here at all? It can't possibly be because it's a cartoon for children and breaking the rules would make for easily manufactured drama. No, that's not it. See, the more I kept
it's a kid's show about breaking the rules. Of course a kid's show is going to be about breaking the rules. What is a kid's show if not about breaking the rules? That's what they're all made to do.
Series, everything started to point back to one person.
Wait, whoa, is Cosmo pregnant? What? What is going on? When did Cosmo get Cosmo had their baby, didn't they? Dude, I love Fairy Tale Parents. It was such a progressive show. Cosmo got pregnant, male pregnancy. I'm totally behind that. That's awesome. That's very based and red-pilled of Fairly Odd Parents, the show. Such a progressive side. Yeah, I remember Poof. I totally forgot it was Cosmo that birthed it, though.
The one magical creature in control of both the rules and the fairy world writ large, Jorgen von Strangle, self-proclaimed toughest fairy in the universe.
I am Drill Sergeant Jorgen von Strangle, and these are my muscles.
Oh, they're huge.
Jorgen is a major supporting character in the series, the guardian of the rules who knows them by heart so he can properly enforce them. He's also in charge of training fairies at his Fairy Academy boot camp, as well as assigning godparents to new god kids who need joy in their life. Basically, he's the fairy general of the fairy army.
I will send you back to the Fairy Academy for 1,000 years of training.
But if he's
Dude,
such
that's
a
so
pro
many
of the
years.
fairy world, why is he propping up this book of lies? Well, everything starts to click into place thanks to 2 episodes. First, there's School's Out the Musical, where the Pixies attempt to take over the fairy world. Remember these guys? They're the magical creatures that are obsessed with destroying joy and whimsy and replacing...
They're trying to do a hostile takeover on the fairy world so they can ruin it and turn it into mush and nothing. This is like when Disney buys any company or Microsoft buys any company. This is Bill Gates! Oh my god, it is! Pixie guy with the big head is Bill Gates. Because he comes in, he tries to get everything under his control, and also he has magic, which Bill Gates has magic, as we all know.
It with contracts, boredom, and rules. Yeah, it's a bit suspicious, isn't it? In this episode, the Pixies find a sad infant clown named Flappy Bob, and they enact a 37-year anti-fun plan, acting as Flappy Bob's own godparents for decades. But instead of granting him every wish for clownish fun, they mold him into a boring Harvard law-educated businessman. Meanwhile, the Pixies trick Timmy into wishing that kids were in charge of the Earth in retaliation against all their rules and laws. But here's the problem. With kids now in charge, every fairy godparent is pulled back into fairy world because the kids no longer need them.
According to the rules, fairies can only be assigned to children in need.
And the rules also state that if pixies are the last magical creatures on...
I like how this implies that kids are only in need if parents exist and adults exist. If kids were just able to do whatever they want, then there is no kids in need, which means that implies that if there are no kids in need, then they have solved the issue of hunger, they have solved depression, they have solved sadness, and that the kid-only kingdom has ushered in a time of complete peace where every resource is given to everyone that needs it, which also means that we have children communism. Because the resources are dished out as they need them and no one is in need. Which means we must have child communism too.
On Earth, they're granted control over the planet, which is exactly what happens. Has to be one of the worst case scenarios for the fairies, who basically only exist to bring joy to others.
We're just enjoying the show. Your misery is like going to the movies for us.
This...
That's like me when there's any drama online. Your misery is like going to the movies. That's like me when I watch any Twitch stream. When any mogul male comes out. Me when I go on live stream fails. Me when I log on to Reddit or just open Twitter for the first time in like 20 minutes because I'm addicted to drama. Me watching a Nuzlocke absolutely lose it.
Sequence of events raises a ton of questions. If fairies are kicked off the earth if kids are suddenly in charge, why isn't wishing for that something that's explicitly listed in the rules? Meanwhile, all of this happened only because Flappy Bob was never granted a fairy godparent. Clearly, he was miserable during his childhood, and yet he got a pixie for some reason.
Sanderson, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful new 37-year plan.
Why? Timmy was assigned Cosmo and Wanda because he didn't want to do chores. I think an orphaned clown having the circus pummeled out of him.
Timmy's an American kid in like a middle-class house who gets a bunch of fairies because he doesn't want to do chores. Meanwhile, like, there's kids in the Middle East just getting bombed and they have no fairies. No fairies allowed.
Just a little bit higher on the priority list. Most importantly of all, though, how did Jorgen not see any of this coming? Remember, Jorgen is the custodian of the rules. He knows them inside and out, and yet he does basically nothing the hundreds of times that we see him getting broken throughout the show. And as the trainer and assigner of new godparents, he should have known how miserable Flappy Bob was during his childhood and done something about it.
He fell through the cracks.
Surprised when the Pixies referenced that obscure
tale as old as time.
Control of Earth in the rules, so he clearly knows that it exists.
Let us go! Timmy needs us!
No, he does not. According to the rules, fairies can only be assigned to children in need.
And as the guardian of the master copy of the rules, he's one of the only people who can change them as he pleases. So this should have been something that he rectified well before it became a problem. So why didn't he? Why is Jorgen lying about the rules? Well, Jorgen didn't stop this precisely because he did see it coming. He wanted this to happen. He wanted the fairies pulled back from the fairy world. It's all part of a larger plan.
Oh no! He's a fairy supremacist. I knew it. He's a fairy racist. He thinks there's the supreme race, and he wants to have fairies completely take over the real world.
A fairy, but instead some sort of undercover pixie on the inside. I mean, he loves rules and enforcing them just like the Pixies.
Now we're pulling like the fairies, so I can bring them pain.
But we learned definitively in the season 7 episode Cosmo.
I forgot about this, dude. I've seen this entire series, but there's so many episodes I forgot about because it was so many years ago.
He's actually Cosmo's cousin, thereby proving that he's a fairy.
Say hello to your other, more deep, dark family secret-ish cousin, Cosmo! Cousins? No!
I mean, can't you see the resemblance? They look exactly like each other.
So what then is his deal? Well, it all comes down to that second episode I mentioned earlier and then left unexplained until now for dramatic effect. You see, the last piece of the puzzle that brings everything together is the season 6 finale, Wishology. Here, we learned that fairies weren't always the sweet, cute, cuddly creatures that we know of today.
In ancient fairy times, a fairy's main job was to fight, not frolic.
Were they fighting? Why would fairies need to fight? They're already in fairyland. Were they gonna fight other fairies?
Fairies were once a race of super soldiers at war with a force known as the Darkness, which was only defeated with...
Dude, every single series that needs some kind of enemy, what are you gonna call it, guys? I don't know, man. There's so many names you could give to it. Oh, what about the Darkness? Oh, yeah, no, that sounds great. The Darkness? Dude, no one's used that one before. That sounds awesome.
Thousands of fairy warriors combined their powers to create a neutralizing light. And even then, the Fairy Council prophesized that the Darkness would one day return. They sent millions of the strongest fairy warriors out into the void of space to create an early warning system for Fairy World, should the Darkness ever return.
What does this have to do with Timmy Turner having to do the hoovering?
According to the lore of the series, that's exactly why there are stars in the sky. All those stars, they're fairies on the lookout. Now, that's a cool...
Oh, dude, that sounds like a flat earth theory. Straight up.
No, brother, there's no stars out there. You see, they're fairies up there. We only got one sun, brother, and our world is flat. There ain't no more planets out there. You see, it's only ours. We got a flat Earth, we got one star, we got fairies out there protecting us from the darkness.
Story and all, but just think about its implications. Fairy World must have been devastated by this war with the darkness. If millions of them were sent into space at the end of the fighting just to be a warning system. That's not even thinking about how many died during combat. Their population has clearly dwindled.
Can a fairy
to a point
die?
where the entirety of Fairy World can fit inside of a gumball machine.
Every fairy in Fairy World must be in here!
And it's not like fairies reproduce quickly either. In Fairly Odd Baby, Cosmo and Wanda's child Poof is born, and we learn that the last fairy child born before Poof was Cosmo himself.
It all started when the last fairy...
Wait, so he's like the youngest fairy in existence, and he's the one that got pregnant? Okay, I'm starting to get sus on Wanda a little bit. That sounds kind of messed up. I don't know how old Cosmo is, or when you reach maturity as a fairy, but I don't like the sound of this. I think we need to lock up Wanda.
Baby was born in Fairy World. Me!
me?
And yet, in The Fast and the Furious, we meet Cosmo and Wanda's very first godchild, the caveman credited with inventing the wheel. That means that at minimum, another new fairy hasn't been born since at least the Paleolithic era 40,000 years ago.
Okay, I'm going to assume that 40,000 years is at least long enough for a fairy to reach maturity. So I'm going to take back my sus on Wanda. Seems pretty consensual.
Even the fairy economy seems to be suffering, unable to fill positions in vital public services like law enforcement.
Isn't there supposed to be a good cop and a bad cop?
We had some cutbacks.
And so Jorgen did what he thought he needed to do. He created a sham system.
I love film theory so much. I love how he takes throwaway joke lines like that and he's using it to justify the fact that there's actually like a genuine issue with the funding of the police force in Fairy World because they made a joke that they have cut back. I love this channel so much. It's so awesome.
Eventually result in kids losing their fairies and those fairies then having to return.
How to even
the fairy
find this?
world.
He's watched too much of
He's
this.
been tweaking the rules, trying to create a situation where the god kids of Earth mess up so badly that the godparents have no choice but to abandon them. That's why he allowed the pixies to exploit the loophole. After kids become the dominant species on Earth, he's happy to pull all those fairies back to Fairy World.
Wait, so he did treason? Do we need to execute Jurgen von
In
Strangle?
the episode, we see him being put to work in real jobs that can help rebuild their infrastructure. He wants the fairies back to rebuild their population. Remember, before Poof, Cosmo was the last fairy child born, and he's older than the entirety of human civilization.
Sounds like the same problem Japan is going through right now when no one wants to fuck and everyone just ends up not having kids. And then they, of course, inevitably end up falling in love with AI like Hatsune Miku's instead.
Short, when humans came into being, production of new fairies stopped. And without the need to train godparents, there's a perfect excuse to turn the Fairy Academy into an actual fairy army boot camp. Jorgen knows that the darkness is going to return, and he's been spending his entire life preparing for it. That's why his physique is so much more like the fairy warriors of old, and why he immediately takes charge of the entire fairy world when the darkness returns, sending all the other fairies to be protected in a gumball machine as he tries his best to fight back.
How are they gonna have sex when they're gumballs? You can't get any new fairies that way. But I suppose they're in the middle of a war, and war's not very sexy, unless you're really weird.
Teams up with Timmy, someone he loathes. He even sacrifices himself to make sure that Timmy can save the fairy world. That is his primary goal, no matter the cost. And here's the thing.
Well, that's a 10-year-old. I don't know if I trust him with that.
Timmy is able to dispel the darkness by showing it love, thereby turning it towards kindness. And towards the end of the series, we learn that there's a shortage of fairy godparents, partially because fairies have begun pursuing careers within Fairy World.
Due to overwhelming demand and fairies taking on better paying jobs, there is a fairy godparent shortage.
That said,
This is just like what happens in the real world in first world countries when women get more careers and higher paying jobs and they get in the workforce and start developing the careers instead of having kids. This is actually a parallel to the real world.
Jorgen's plan didn't work well enough. He still had to suffer through all those episodes with the dog fairy.
What do you want me to say? I know a lot of words because I just ate a dictionary.
But hey, if you want something that breaks the rules of our world, you should check out our sponsor for today's episode,
What is this?
Air Up, the bottle that'll completely change the way you drink water by hacking your brain.
Oh, is that the end of the episode? Well, we've all come to the conclusion that fairies are cool and that they should probably have a lot more sex. And if you want me to watch a video, let me know in the Discord server. Thanks for watching.